Good evening, friends. Happy Thursday night to you, and welcome to the Seven Pillars Talk Show. What are those seven pillars? Well, they're the seven pillars of creating an unbreakable life. That is the life that you are destined for. Those seven pillars, we walk through the steps of self discovery, we walk through mindset and mind shifting moments, we walk through our beliefs and our limitations around those beliefs, we walk through our defining moments and those trauma opportunities. We walk through our health, our community, which is where we discover all of the greatness within us. And of course, we discover our purpose. That is our seven pillars. And tonight is no different. We are going to walk through the seven pillars, but I want to share with you tonight, my special guest could actually function in any of those seven pillars. And as you get to know her, you will see what I'm talking about. My sweet friend, Megan DiMartino from Georgetown, Texas, has created several different businesses where she's made an impact in the lives of women and men. And in fact, she's working on doing just that around the world through several different sectors of the market. And tonight, we're going to talk about one in particular, our health and our beauty, and how intertwined they can work together to help us shine and show up as our best selves. Well, Megan is the founder and creator of several businesses. And today we're going to talk about Novita, her spot in Georgetown, Texas, and how she uses that to touch the lives all over the place. So help me welcome our friend Megan as I bring her onto the stage, and you guys get to know her a little bit better tonight. Hey, Megan.
Hello, Teresa. Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it, and it's been a joy to really get to know you. Another beauty biz gal. So I just so enjoy that.
Oh, well, thank you, Megan. Megan and I have known each other now probably for about 4 or 5 years through this really cool organization that we got connected with in Georgetown, Texas. But it really wasn't until the Unbreakable Life journey that I got to know her story. And behind all the work that we put our hands to, there is a story, there is a motivator, there is something that gets our heart thumping and our feet to work. And Megan, I want to know, and I want you to share with our viewers tonight what it is that gets your heart pumping and why you do what you do.
Wow. I've been doing what I do for a very long time, Teresa. And your guests that are listening, many of them know some of what I've done. But basically, you said I'm from Georgetown, Texas. I'm actually a New York girl, deep in the heart of Texas, with a creative, serving, mentoring spirit. Yeah. And so what I say and mean by that, Teresa, is that I am from New York, outside of the city on Long Island, and New York City was a major part of my DNA and is part of my DNA in my life, but also was the fact that my parents were entrepreneurs, and I grew up in observing and working in that genre, so to speak. My grandfather, Alberto DiMartino, was from Italy. He was an apprentice in a very fancy hotel on Madison Square Garden area. And so he became a barber. And so that's the roots of my beauty biz. And wow. My father, Ray DiMartino, technically invented tissue end papers. So meaning those little tissue when you have a perm. Now, perming isn't that big today, but back in the 80s, sure was. And so my father in the 50s was working for a large paper company and in sales. And one of the products he sold was wet strength tissue for underbedding in hospitals. And he said, Teresa, this creative guy, that this would work. I bet this would work for perming, because he saw his father doing perming, because in the barber shop, which ended up on Long Island, he loved doing ladies' hair. So as straight razoring and all that type of thing became obsolete, he converted it to a salon. So my father and his brothers helped their dad in this salon and shop, as he called it. And back in the day, perms the end wraps were cloth.
Yeah.
So my father set out to see if this would work. Cut it up, brought it to salons in New York City area. It was 1/10 the cost and very effective, obviously. And so us children were packing end papers in our basement.
Oh my goodness.
Yes,
Oh my goodness.
sweatshop labor. And then he brought the neighbor kids in and so forth. So I went to entrepreneurial school by Ray DiMartino. And many years later, my mother, I'm one of four, I'm the middle child. And my mother said, you know, you're more like your father than any of the other kids. And what she meant by that, and that was a huge compliment, but what she meant by that, Teresa, was that I was, and this is back to your pillars, is that I was always, as I say, I'm a creative, but also serving mentoring. So it was about not only my own creativity and fulfilling me, but helping others. You know, kids into doing the lemonade stand and hey, let's do these and let's do this and let's do that. That was me. I was the instigator of all that crazy stuff. But it was about that. And so over the years, I went to college for fashion merchandising, worked in Lord & Taylor in a program, buyer's training program, was very blessed to work for an amazing buyer and learned so much, and then went to Bloomingdale's and worked in the cosmetic buying office. And that's where I had an epiphany that I was going to start start was not the right word. Someday I'm going to create something like this, meaning I saw Estee Lauder, but I didn't meet her. No, I was just a young woman. And, but I was in that buying office. And so I learned so much. And so fast forward 20 some odd years, I was offered a job with Alcon Laboratories that brought me to Texas, Fort Worth to be specific. They're a large international corporation, but they were developing a hair care line, somewhat like Nioxin and Rogaine and those type of lines for, you know, thinning hair and scalp, which is very prevalent today, meaning those type of products. But anyway, they wanted to, not glamorize it to some degree. And so my job as a national sales and marketing director was to repackage, reposition, because they had bought an existing NDC coded National Drug Code small lab, and they wanted to repackage and reposition. But I took that job for one reason and one reason only, because back in Bloomingdale's, I said, someday I'm going to create. And I knew by this point, because there was no Google, there was no internet, there was nothing. So I needed to hang out with sophisticated chemists. So I was able to hang out with these guys, and they helped me identify ingredients and put things together. So back to your original question, basically, I'm so passionate about what I do because it's not just about creating, which it is. Couldn't breathe if I wasn't creating. It isn't just about helping people, which it is. I'm always looking to help and direct and guide and so forth. But it's also today, Teresa, is so many people have so much misinformation. So much misinformation.
Yeah.
We have more information than we've ever had. Like I said, there was no Dr. Google to go to. Hey, Dr. Google, tell me about the most current ingredient. No, there wasn't. That's why I had to work with the head chemist at Alcon and so forth. But today you get so many conflicting and converging points, and you have no idea. Do I detox? Do I not? Do I do this? Do I do not? What do I do?
Right.
Okay. It's so overwhelming, which it is, but destructive. It can be very, very destructive.
Sure.
So in 2018, I came to Georgetown in 2004, started a luxury day and medical spa, Novitas Spa and Medical Rejuvenation Clinic. It evolved over the years. In 2020, a gentleman knocked on my door literally and said, "Do you want to sell me your business?" I don't know. Do I? And so we, communicated, and I did not want to sell the trade name Novitas Spa, which is federally trademarked. I did not want to sell the skincare product line that I've been developing over the last 32 years. No, I did not. It's a clean line. It's a result-oriented line. It was the very first alpha beta line in the beauty industry back in 92. No. Did I want to sell that? No. Did I want to sell the URL that I've had since 97? And before a lot of these, web guys and gals have been born, there's, oh my goodness. So no, so it was an asset purchase. But in 18, and this is the beginning of this point, in 18, I had a meniscus tear in my left knee. Okay. Yeah. But that left knee was injured as a kid in high school in sports. And over years, I skied and played tennis, and that movement created osteoarthritis in that knee. And it was troublesome. It was, but I would do my LED light and sit in the infrared sauna. And if it got really swollen, I'd use a knee brace. But in summer of 18, I had a meniscus tear. Mm. And I went to an orthopedic, and of course they did imaging and said, oh, you need a knee replacement. Well, I'm a researcher of sorts. So I conferred with Dr. Google.
Yeah.
And Doc said to me that it's a 60-40 ratio of results. And I didn't want to be the 40% of having it not work and having plastic and metal in my patella, replacing my patella. Also, what they don't really tell you is it doesn't last forever. So at 10 years later, 5, 8, 10, I'd have to have it again. And I'm 10 years older. Well, that made no sense.
Sure.
And so the best form of advertising is referral. And the best form of information is information that you glean from people that you trust and know. Right. So as a researcher, I started doing that. And I knew of stem cell, but I didn't know, deep information. And so I did the other piece and found a friend and a friend of a friend and husband and wife, and they both had stem cell regenerative therapy, the wife in the shoulder, the husband in the knee, and very, very reputable individuals and bright, talented, successful, so and my party that introduced me to them is also that type of individual. So I didn't even have a consultation, kids. I drove up to Dallas because as an entrepreneur and a business owner, my insurance has always been crummy.
Sure.
So it's always been out of pocket. So I'm going to pay for that. I don't think so. I said, I'm going to roll the dice. And so I drove up to Dallas, went and pulled into the, parking lot of this clinic, hobbled in, had 1 cc in my left knee. And 5 years later, I can climb a mountain.
Oh my goodness. I've done it. I want to unpack some of that real quick because I feel like, wow, that is so much amazing information. And I bet it's that entrepreneurial spirit in you, right? Mm-hmm. That says, I've researched it, I believe in it, I'm going after it, that allowed you to, with freedom, make that choice, right? And not be, overly. But I love so many things that you talked about. So number one, if I look at some of our pillars, the first thing you talked about was your roots. Actually, one of the first words you said was genetics, but I'll get back to that. But one of the first things that you said was you talked about your roots. And I know Novita, you said earlier when we were chatting that it was an Italian name. So I'm assuming that that kind of goes back to your roots a little bit. Is that correct?
It's a restaurant on Park Avenue and 33rd Street in Gramercy Park, Novita, or Novita, as they call it there, because Novita. But I love the restaurant, and it has warm yellow walls, and that's the yellow I fode in the 7th Street, large spa. But yes, because both my grandparents are from, DiMartino grandparents are from the Naples area, and it's very family, and history is very, very important to me. So, I didn't get it from them, but I always loved that restaurant. And so when I was going to name something, I said, my second skincare brand. My first was Glycolique, and I built it and sold it. And that was based on glycolic acid. And so so when I started my second brand, after I sold that and ran it contractually for a year, then I said, I think that Novita is it, because to me it meant more about skincare because the word means new birth, new life.
Wow.
Novita Vita's life. Novita, new birth, new life. That is what the word means. Yes.
Well, I can totally see how that can relate to skincare, but I don't want to get off this conversation yet because the other thing, you talked about your lineage and your legacy and the heritage, really. I love that you said history is important. And even you talked about the access to information right now. I feel like we're in a place that we are so overloaded with access to information that people don't take the time to do something that you mentioned many times in your introduction, which was to research, to
Yes.
get familiar with, to
Yes.
discover who they are. And
Yes.
so as a result, we literally walk around surface leveling our life
Yes.
instead of going deep and understanding the uniqueness and all of the things that make us who we are.
Amen. Amen. It's tragic, actually, and that is one of my. So there's health of the body, to be your own health advocate, but also what you just said, to help others to understand, to go within, to seek, to learn about, because that's my 5 pillars of my Propel program: clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and compassion. And the compassion piece is for yourself. Trust me. Okay. But the clarity piece, Teresa, is so very important, because if you do a broad brush stroke, you're never going to stay with anything, because you're going to get so dismayed. And if you don't have immediate gratification, which the internet says you will, then you will go on to the next shiny object. So you have to be clear on your why, and why are you doing anything?
Right.
So meaning that I know that I'm not going to be a singer or in a musical Broadway show, because I can't carry a tune. You know what I'm saying? So meaning I know that what is clear to me of what I do. Now, to me, sales is about education. It's about information. Okay? So when I was in my 20s, between 2 children, living in Ridgefield, Connecticut, I needed a car and I needed money. And so I became a Tupperware salesperson and became a manager, not because I wanted to sell the bowls, but because I needed the car. But what I learned more from that couple of years, because I built this, what they called a unit. Now, most of these women that I built in this unit were older than I, because I was 23 to 5. But the point is, no, actually it was 5, 6, 7. But anyway, regardless, I was young.
Yeah.
But the most important point, back to your pillars, is that I listened to them saying, well, Johnny needs, college fund and this and that. Hi, would you like to know about this? And so to help people, augment their lives. And so that is a piece to me that's so important, to help people. Not that they wanted to make a career of Tupperware. It's not my point. But what, back to your point, is to help people identify their dreams, goals, and aspirations.
Yeah.
Identify it and then actualize it.
Yeah. So you said that, of course, was a piece of your journey, and there were several pieces of your journey. And one of the things that you talked about is, I'm not going to be a Broadway singer. I'm not going to do this. And I think a lot of people, they look at those things because of the internet world that says, learn to dance on TikTok and, do all these things. And if they're not us, then sometimes we can pick up the mindset of, well, I would fail or whatever, as opposed to just saying, no, let me carve those things out. Let me get laser focused on the gift and really the purpose that God put in my belly. But, before I was even born, like, what is that? And it a lot of times goes back to those roots, to those individual unique places and the heritage around you. But I love that. And, of course, my background a little bit before I, was really into Unbreakable Journey. And still today, I'm still connected with the beautiful Mary Kay skincare brand. And before that, I was in banking. And before that, we've done several different things. And I think a lot of times the world will make you think that if you step out of one thing or another, then you're failing. And in fact, that's so wrong. Yeah. Those things are stepping stones, right? Stepping stones that give you tools and wisdom and learning. I mean, what happens if you wouldn't have learned about that mentorship program within Tupperware? Would mentoring be part of your pillars?
Exactly. And, it's interesting that probably in the 80s, when I went to work for my father's business. And so therefore I was technically in R&D and sales and marketing. Okay. But with that said, I'm not going to go into that whole long story, but I went from there. I worked in Manhattan for a bit, but that wasn't working because I have 2 daughters and I had just gotten divorced. So that wasn't working, the commuting piece. So I went to work for my family's business, and it was a great opportunity. But the point why I'm sharing this is that I recognized during that season, even though it was very different than Tupperware and what I was doing, okay, but I recognized the thread is the mentoring, helping the distributor sales consultant, the manufacturer's reps, taking these products to market, helping. So I was able to have a master's degree really in taking sales, but marketing, because the thread of it is all tied together.
It's all interconnected. Yes.
Interconnected. Yes. And so I looked back, Teresa, to saying, wow, because for instance, I hated those stupid games at the parties. The parties were fine. The games were stupid. So I said, well, and I was in Fairfield County, Connecticut, which is this fancy area, right? So I said, you know what? I'm not going to do those stupid parties, which might resonate in, P-Dunk, wherever, right? But not in Fairfield County. So I did theme parties for, the seasons. And so I would meet with the hostess and put those together. So my point is that I changed it up. So it's always, like you're saying, put your own twist on it. And so what you said, from banking to this, heck, if you don't have a solid banking background, you have no business.
That's right. Yeah.
No
we learned so much. And I think that we can reflect on those journeys and say, well, that piece was really important, even when sometimes it feels like, maybe it wasn't like I have arrived and this is my be all end all, my destination point. It's part of the journey. And I love that.
Yes.
Well, Megan, I would love for you to take us on your journey a little bit of past that sale of the business to where you're at today. One of the things that I love hearing about is the approach to the skincare that you do, and how you take all of your experiences, all this technology, all the things, and really help people identify what's right for me, because my skin is different than your skin, and my needs are different, and how I've abused my skin is probably different, all the things. So how do you walk people around, what a good system for them looks like? And really it's whole body, probably not just on your face. Right. Although that's all we think about. We got a whole body that's covered, hopefully, in skin, right?
Amen. Amen. Well, first off, I love the hot pink backsplash, because again, that's an homage to your Mary Kay, and your lipstick. I mean, I just love it. And the thing about, again, it gets back to the whole person, the holistic, and listening to people and their needs, at the Tupperware parties and thread through it. But what made so much sense to me when I was working for Ray Sun is my father's business. Ray is my father and Sun was my brother. And that wasn't Ray Dot, because he didn't know I was going to be doing this. But anyway, it was in the 80s. And again, perming was large and the nail industry was developing and so forth. So but I always remembered, you're going to create something. So I knew I wasn't going to stay with Ray Sun, because it wasn't my business either. Yeah. So I was always open to, and as the skincare arena started to come into the wholesale beauty industry, which means to salons, because there was no such thing as a spa in the 80s, it didn't exist. And as the nail industry started, not the Asian thing, but as the nail industry with the powder and acrylic started happening, salons started calling themselves full service salons, doing manicures and pedicures and these cool solar nails. Yeah. So and then Gigi Honey started coming in, with waxing, and that started that whole essence of what we know today, so to speak, in quote unquote spa. But to me, spa, the definition of a spa, because if you go to Webster, it's a hot tub. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So to me, and I never trademark this, but to me, a spa is a special pampering attitude from the
Oh my
front
goodness.
to the back door. And not that we take people out the back door, but meaning as they are leaving. Okay. And it's so it is that experience. Okay. And
Say that one more time. Special
pampering attitude.
I love it.
The moment they walk in the door and you say, good morning, not how are you? No, because they could have had a horrible night. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yeah. Welcome. It's that special pampering attitude. And so I trained my staff from, anyone who was with us, and that's why they stayed forever, because I kept, just really motivating them and giving them more and more encouragement, so to speak, and things to do as we evolved it to medical. But the point is that never to, and this is your question, never to throw the baby out with the bathwater of home care products that work, like brushing and flossing your teeth, and a treatment, not a deep peel. There's a place for it, not a laser resurfacing place for it, but it's never minimizing the importance of the health of the skin.
Right.
The skin is the largest organ of the body. Right. It's the largest organ of elimination. What goes in must come out. That's why, we talked earlier about medication and what's going on in the medical world. It's very challenging. People have to be their own health advocate. And so I feel very strongly about tying the two together, as you said, I don't do many facials anymore. I still do a few, my VIPs that have been with me forever, but it's the gals that now have rooms at their businesses, let's call it that, at Novita Beauty and Regenerative Wellness are gals that used to work for me for over 10 years at the original Novita Spa and Medical Rejuvenation Clinic on 7th Street on the Georgetown Square. We're now on 9th Street, 2 blocks over. And my business under the umbrella of Novita Beauty and Regenerative Wellness is the stem cell, is vitamin infusion. And then, of course, we have an infrared sauna, which we've had in my businesses for many, many years. But it's the stem cell, as I started sharing earlier, came from my need. And then when people saw that I didn't leave, I didn't have surgery, I wasn't gone for weeks, I wasn't in recuperation or physical therapy or whatever, they said, can I have that? I don't know. So I did research again, started with my insurance agent,
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Can I do this? Am I allowed? Yeah.
It started with him. It really did. And it went on from there. And so we added regenerative stem cell and I work with Dr. David Green, a pioneer in regenerative stem cell, and in January of 2019. And we've done over 500 patients since then. And I'm more passionate about it today, Teresa and folks, because people are so confused. They don't want to have surgery. They don't want to go to the hospital. They don't want all of that, but they don't know where to turn. It come to us for a no-charge consultation. You don't have to have it, but I want to share correct information.
Yeah. I feel like one of the biggest detriments that we have in the world today to any industry is probably Dr. Google, like you said, and Dr. YouTube and Dr. DIY, right? Where people are not taking back their power, which is the theme for Unbreakable this year, is taking back your power. And really that's in all areas of life. I feel like so many times we just give away our power at the mercy of whoever, whatever. And
the narrative that you're listening to.
Yes. Yeah. And don't take the time for research, development, consulting. And so we make a lot of quick decisions without that, and that can cause problems, right? We put the wrong thing in our bodies that we're not aware that it's an issue. But, I actually went a whole year and a half, almost 2 years, putting the wrong thing in my body because I didn't know it was bad for me. I was just trying to lose weight, honestly. But anyway, I was putting the wrong thing in my body, and my fibroids grew. I didn't even know I had them, but I had a cantaloupe-sized fibroid because of the amount of soy I was consuming. And that was my thing. I have a high sensitivity to soy. And so I didn't know, but I share that story to tell
Mhm.
people sometimes even the things that aren't bad aren't right for us.
That's right.
And when we try to DIY it or just follow narratives without really doing exactly what you did. And Megan, I want to say, as I listen to you and I get to know you, one of the attributes that I appreciate the most about you is your excellence.
Okay.
And I see that all over you. And I can only believe and imagine that that is the treatment that people receive when they come to you. So I want you to know that.
Well, thank you.
Um, you're
Appreciate
welcome. You're welcome. But without that excellence and that detail and the years of just research that you've done, people are really left making decisions with really no data attached to them, and that's scary. One of the things that you mentioned is things coming out of our skin, which is our largest organ, and you
Mhm.
also talked about vitamin infusion. Can you
Yes.
take us down this path a little bit, Megan, around um, understanding, okay, why do we need vitamin infusions? I'm assuming it's because we're not getting the nutrients that we need to take
Mhm.
care of our cells. But can you
Mhm.
explain that to us?
Gosh, we could talk for another couple of days about all this. But you go to the grocery, I don't care where you live, and you go to the health food aisle and you see, and then you go to GNC and you go to Walgreens and you go to wherever, and you see this wall of, well, let's stay in the grocery store, and you see this wall of probiotics to collagen to this to that. It's like, holy moly, guacamole. What do I buy? And like to your point, is this right for me? And but our bodies are being so depleted. Our machine, our machine, is being so depleted for so many reasons, and least of which is the contamination of pesticides and things like that that are causing havoc. But number two is fast food. So our diet,
Mm-hmm.
because we're all running and da 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 da. And so we are depleting our bodies. But if we don't know, we don't know. You hear, you don't know what you don't know. That's why
Right.
research is so important, personal research, to really look into things.
Yeah.
So basically vitamin infusion. So let's just talk about supplementation.
Okay.
And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with supplementation. What I'm saying is it's about quality of active ingredient science and research and how the dang product is put together.
Right.
That is applicable to skincare products and the like. You can say, oh, this is a clean line. What does that really mean?
Sure.
That's a marketing. Back in the day when I started Glycolique, and from Glycolique to Novital, it was botanical. I mean, what does that really mean? Today it's organic, but yet they still are spraying this stuff with pesticides. Okay.
Right.
So therefore, a supplement takes longer to dissolve and work into the system of the body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're a vitamin infusion. The word infusion means an IV.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is regardless of the vitamin infusion, and there are many cocktails
Right.
that, or prescriptions, or whatever you want to call it. But we do a lot of Myers cocktail because it's a cocktail it's really the Rolls Royce of vitamin infusions because it's a blending. But I don't mix it. You don't mix it. That a compounding pharmacy that does this is what they do, mixes this.
So we're not like a little science experiment going on in here.
Like my Italian grandma. Oh no, just put a pinch of this. Okay.
No recipe, no ingredients.
No, right. So basically, so it is feeding back the system systemically. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about stem cells, is that they are perinatal birth product, and they are, as Dr. Green calls them, heat-seeking missiles, wanting to just go to that area of inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
There's no contraindication. They just do their work. Beauty is God's idea. God had no plan of the body not healing itself.
Right. Right.
So back to the point though about vitamin infusion versus supplementation. It's just you have to, again, do that research and know go to a fabulous health food, or wherever that you get to know the person and like to your point, that is it right for me?
Right. And do you guys do any kind of testing as far as individual testing to determine genetics and things of that nature?
To answer your question, ask that type of question a lot. And to answer your question, when I sold the asset purchase, most humans would have retired.
Yes.
Most humans would have retired.
And you got a PhD. No.
As my friend Sharon Lecter said to me, Megan, you are not retiring, you're refiring. You got it, girl. Yeah. So the point is that if I was still on 7th Street with 4,000 square feet, I would be doing a lot of what you just asked. Sure. But I am working with some folks, and I'm not going to go more than just saying this. We're looking at putting together a program doing a lot of that, and we're more of a concierge type of program. Okay?
So coming soon, yeah.
And it won't probably be in that building. It will be a concierge where, I'm not saying we won't do lectures and workshops and so forth. What I'm saying is the actual, what you just asked, will be more concierge.
Sure. Yes. And I think that becomes, a normal thing. And, and I feel like people are becoming more aware of the uniqueness of themselves. And as people are getting access to this information faster, and naturopath care and really, just taking a holistic approach to their health, I think they're seeing so many of these things. Well, I know that and I'm so excited to say that Novita is going to be at Unbreakable, our next conference in August on the 22nd in Austin downtown at the beautiful Chateau Bellevue. And it is an amazing place. I cannot wait. The 2 pillars that we're digging into at that particular event are our mindset and our community. And Megan is going to be talking on the mindset panel. So I love that. But she's also going to be providing the vitamin infusions. Can you talk a little bit about that and how they should prepare for that?
Well, what has been very fascinating to me is that I do participate in speaking and conferences around the country. And as COVID was kind of segueing or not as, in our faces, still 22-ish, but still not as, I saw, and we were doing stem cell and vitamin infusion, but not this vitamin infusion mill, so to speak. Okay. And I saw that, and it didn't matter if it was Nashville or, Cleveland or whatever. And I noticed that there were physicians, but they were basically nurses, and they could have been men, but regardless, coming to them and doing quote unquote vitamin infusions.
Right.
And so I started researching it again from, can we do this remotely?
Yes.
Okay.
With our insurance, right?
Yeah. Okay. Right. And so I was like, wow. And so then I started speaking to Brittany, my lead nurse, who's been with me forever. And from the beginning, she was trained by Dr. Green, fabulous. And we started talking about this end of last year, and speaking about how it's just time. It's time to do this. And as I said to you throughout this, not just because we can, but because people need it, and people need to know about it and the why of it, and why would they even do it. Okay. And the difference of what, not only the cocktails, but also why would you go to X versus Y and things of that nature. So I'm always looking to, like you said, a spirit of excellence to help people understand that there are differences in products and treatments and things that you're looking at. And I do feel that the remainder of my business career, I'm talking about the active brick and mortar career, is going to be more of that than building, I'm saying, like helping others like Bridget and Melissa and so forth, meaning they're there, we talk all the time. But the point is It's about more to the consumer.
Right.
You
Right.
see?
I love that. Yeah.
It's
Well,
more to the
you know, we all have a purpose, and your purpose in this season is definitely education, taking all that beautiful wisdom and knowledge that you've acquired of years of research and develop. I mean, I can't imagine. I'm listening to your to your resume essentially, right? You've got the sales and the marketing, you've got the research and development. You've got the blood of an entrepreneur running through your body, right? So many different amazing things that you bring. And now I see you have this passion and this heart for really helping people really have the best body with the best nutrients and the best results that they can have access to.
Because honestly, and I know you know this, and I know your listeners and guests do as well, but health is the greatest wealth. And we hear that, but just I do know that COVID season brought it to our face that if you don't have your health, you have nothing. And I am very blessed to be not take any medication. And I'm going to go into my 74th year around the sun. I guess I'm finishing my 74th. My birthday's in August, and then I go into my 75th turn around the sun. And my folks both passed in their late 90s.
Yeah.
And really just at home, and they just, folded the tent. And so the point, there's a backstory to it, but the point, that is the fact. And so my father would have lived to, he said, Will and I are going to live to 102. And he would have had she not passed. So he was more the notebook is really the essence of it. But the point is that I come from great genes, and my grandma DiMartino, my Noni, lived to in her mid 90s, and her husband, my grandfather, didn't, but that was another whole thing of not because of his genetics. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
So the point is that I've been given a gift, and I know that this is a gift. And I know that it's incumbent upon me to share with people, and this is the title of my book, kids, Hope and Possibilities Just Over the Horizon. It's never too early or too late to create the life of your dreams.
Oh, I love that, Megan. And that is so true. And you're a living example of it. I'm just thinking, at almost 75 years old, you're at a launching pad for this endeavor that you're in. And I watch how you're connecting with people, and what an example you're leading, that it is never too late, and that you're leading podcast interviews, all of the amazing things that you're doing. It's beautiful and it's brilliant. And I applaud your efforts, and you're really just charging the path for other people to follow. So thank you for doing that.
My pleasure and my joy, really. It truly is my joy. I don't think of age. I mean, I say that I really, up until this year, never actually shared my age because I never thought about it. Didn't really. But now, because of that number, it's like, I think it's an encouraging thing. And I asked
you want to tell people your age because your face doesn't tell it, right?
But I asked somebody, like a colleague person, right? And I said, do you think that it would be wise to share that? She was like, are you kidding me? So that's why I say that number now, I can look at my license, but you get the point. Sure, so I want to be an encourager. I do want to give people the understanding that people say, I'm talking about employees, over the years, I'm 27 and I don't really know what I want to do. Excuse me? I didn't start Glycolique until I was 42. I mean, now it doesn't mean I didn't get that aha moment when I was 20, whatever, right? But I needed to learn. And that's back to your point. And that's what we should really leave this point with your pillars, that people must understand that it's not immediate gratification. There's nothing negative about and what I say, Teresa, is that you must listen to that still, quiet, small voice, because I did a post maybe a month ago. I saw this image, and it's in my plan, straight line, God's plan.
Yeah.
And the point of that is that we don't know what his plan is. And so we have to, like when you took your left turn or right turn or whatever you want to say into this, and I messaged you recently saying, wow, you are now in your zone.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that 10 years from now, there won't be other
Sure. Yeah.
that so I just want people to know that enjoy the journey.
Yes. Enjoy the journey. And one thing I had to learn was surrender the outcome. God's got, if we believe the word, I believe the word.
Mm-hmm.
And it says that his plans are better than our plans, and that he has a plan for us, and that he is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask, think, or imagine. If we believe those words, then I think we can surrender the outcome to our peanut-sized brains of comparison to what he's able to do if we just are willing to walk in our purpose. And I think that encouragement is what you're also sharing, Megan. I see that all over the place, and it's so wonderful. And for such a time as this, we need that now more than ever. Yeah.
I know it as I know it. Yes. Yeah. And so just as to your point again, that God knew. Somebody asked me just today about the selling of my business. And I'm like, well, I had no plan on doing that. He had the plan. Mm-hmm. He knew I needed to release from that 5,000-pound gorilla. Yeah. But I also needed to release that season to be able to move into the next season. Yeah. But that wasn't revealed to me right away. That was in 20. So I had to take
a couple paths
things and to then lead into the next. And so it's guys, you just enjoy the journey, because it is part of your, as you said, your resume. One of the last things my father, I spoke to him after this, but this was the morning of my mother's funeral, and we were at my sister's house, and I knew he'd be up early, and I came downstairs to make him a cup of tea, and we were sitting there, and he said to me, you're very lucky. And I'm like, really? And, but because, on paper, I'm divorced, whatever. Yeah. But I looked at him, I said, okay, what do you mean by that? And he said, and this is the point. He said, because you have a happy heart. And his point, what he meant by that was, no matter what stuff is going to happen, you meander through it with your happy heart. Wow. And so I want people to know that, look for that joy within things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Through that yucky pucky, whatever that might be. And trust me, I'm not minimizing. I can talk about all the negative. Trust me. That's why the 5th C is compassion, but it's compassion for yourself, because so many dreams get aborted because of those, that lesser than that. And, I did this, I'll do that. I won't be able to do it. So they stop. And that's the furthest from the truth. So enjoy the moment, have a happy heart. Again, joy is a decision. Joy is a decision.
It is. Oh, Megan, I love that. I could sit here and talk to you all day. Tell us the best way for people to reach out to you. And of course, I'll post your links below this, and then people can, and of course they can join us at Unbreakable 2024 on August 22nd and meet you then. But what is the best way for them to reach out to you? And the other thing too is, what if, they maybe heard negative things about stem cell or whatever, like how can they overcome some of that and in discussion with you?
Well, first off, it's several things here, but number one, about the question about stem cell, you can go to novitasspa.com, and there are 3 testimonies there. Now, we've done many, many people, and not any negative dynamics, but why these are patients of ours, and that but there's 2 men and a woman, different ages, different needs. And why I chose them to be in this video is because they are they encapsulate everyone, you know, from on and on. I mean, the woman had vertigo, tendinitis, drop vertigo. Who knew there's such a thing? Meaning that she was taking the trash out and collapsed and had a head injury that spiraled down more things. So the point is, you will hear about it. But the other, so that, but also call, you know, the Novitas business number, the clinic number, and set up a no charge consultation, because we can dispel any, you know, perception or, you know, misinformation. So it's really about that. So it's about having a no charge consultation, you know, contacting us. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, Megan, I know you've got tons of things on your plate. Thank you for taking time with us today. And thank you for partnering with me. Thank you for being in my community. You know, I don't talk a whole lot about community, but as you talked about joy and the right attitude and mentorship and all of those things, we get those when we surround ourselves with the right people. So thank you for being part of my people. And
my joy,
joy,
really. And that, I just want to share this is, and I thought about this today, preparing for tonight, is that I made a decision. This is a point, guys. That, you know, I could have said, well, I've been on the square for 20 years and people need to run into my business. And blah, 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 blah. Well, I was not there for 2 years. Okay. So I made a decision the end of last year that I was going to get out again and meet people. And not just because of the business, but also for a full and robust lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because of, get back to your word, community. So I was at something Tuesday night in the Georgetown community. I'm going to something tonight. I mean, I'm here with you. I'm going to be doing your event. I mean, it's, guys, you can't do life alone.
Right.
That's how that is what the Propel community is about. So there is a link to that. It's propel.megandemartino.com/info. And you can join the no charge Propel community. So anyway, but I would love people to be part of that.
Yes, yes. Well, we're going to get all your links on here. Megan, thank you so much for being with me tonight. Thank you for the joy that you bring and the wisdom. And we look forward to seeing you at Unbreakable.
I will be there. Probably not with a hat, but that's, I've been running in and out of outside. So thank you, guys. Be blessed.